So you want to start shopping for better weed. Well, for one, you gotta stop shopping based off of THC percentage. I was at a dispensary the other day and I was able to witness two behaviors that I just can't believe are such common behaviors still, but it is what it is. You know, some of this may be obvious, but people are still shopping based off THC percentage, and even worse, bud tenders are still recommending strains based off of THC percentage. And listen, I understand the misconception. You know, you think, I used to think like this too. You think like the higher the percentage, the stronger the high. And at the end of the day, I think the number one reason people are buying weed is not for the flavor as much as it is for the effects, right? If you have to choose one thing, what do we smoke for? I mean, come on, I love flavor more than the next guy. But at the end of the day, I think we can all agree the high is the most important part of the smoking experience for people. And I understand you wanting to get a stronger high, especially for these prices at some of these dispensaries, which we'll get into. I've smoked strains that are like 18, low 20s, and they are stronger and longer lasting of a high than those high 30 percenters, right? Don't let a number get in the way of you finding some really good flower for some really good growers, right? Try different strains from different growers. Let your nose guide you. A lot of people don't ask even to smell the sample jars. Believe it or not, a lot of the times, even though they're not on display, a lot of dispensaries will have samples, and you can let your nose do the guiding, right? Don't look at the flower and see what it looks like to, let that be your determining factor. I see a lot of people still, they want to go for the pretty buds. I understand, right? But trust me, the way a flower looks, bag appeal is the least important thing. You have to let that nose guide you, right? Some of these strains you'll smell and they'll make your mouth start watering, right? And so never be afraid to let your nose guide you. And if you don't have the opportunity to let your nose guide you, you should be maybe asking or looking for what the genetics are, not just the name of the strain, right? You should know what are the genetics, right? What strain is it? Is it crossed with something? These are things you're going to want to know, because that can help guide your future positive experiences. That can also help you branch out to try different things, right? Sometimes people are buying the same strain from different growers without realizing it, because they're not shopping based off of genetics. I think that shopping based off of those factors as opposed to percentages is so far more important, right? Because I feel like it's either people are looking for percentages, and aside from percentages, they're looking at what looks prettier if they could, or if they don't have an actual sample jar where they could see what the flower looks like, and all they're shopping based off is percentages and packaging. Well, then that's a recipe for disaster. Because then, don't get me wrong. Look, there's a ton of companies that are doing amazing packaging and backing it up with amazing flower, but in a lot of these dispensaries, there's a lot of companies that are doing packaging that is not holding up any real value on the flower side once you get into it. So I want, for my smoking experience, to always have the opportunity, like, yeah, if I can have a cool packaging for the collection, I'll take it. But I want to have a positive smoking experience, and I want to check as many boxes as possible, right? Flavor, smoothness, how is it smoking, and more importantly, like I said, the effects, the high. You're not going to find the strongest of highs by just shopping by percentages, right? It's all about the terpenes. It's an entourage effect that occurs. Look into it. I'm not going to break that down for you, but again, there's a science behind it, essentially. Right? And also, another thing you should be doing is checking those dates. Check on those dates. Sometimes you can see that some dispensaries will have certain strains on the wall for close to a year, and by that point, even if it was great at one time, most of the freshness is lost, right? You want to hopefully be shopping in a dispensary that is keeping fresh product on the shelves, because they are selling it out quickly, and trust me, there's a ton of those, and you can definitely bet that you'll always have a better smoking experience the fresher it is, right? It sucks how many times I see when there's 7-8 month old flower on the shelves sometimes at these dispensaries, and they're still selling this at full price. It's just not worth it. So you don't have the same experience if you're not checking on those dates. So make sure you're definitely doing that. Hopefully what you are doing is also looking up reviews, real reviews from real people, not just from me. There's a ton of great reviewers out there. So shout out to the whole review community. I love to see it thriving. And you can always just check in on other people's experiences, and hopefully they're highlighting certain characteristics that you are looking for or aren't looking for. And you can kind of go and have some, prior insight. But at the end of the day, I said this before and I'll always say this: shopping based on somebody else's experience can only go so far, because everybody is going to have a different experience, because we're all different people and we all have different preferences. And we just gotta, I think another thing too is just like, don't be afraid to try different things. And I know it's super hard. It's super hard because maybe you only have a certain budget and you're already happy or satisfied with what you have, so you don't want to like take that risk. But look, it's worth the risk sometimes. You're gonna want to explore what more there is out there. I know a lot of people too who just buy the same thing every single time from the same people, and that just works for them. To each their own. But for me personally, I like trying different things from different people, and figuring out what I like. And everything is batch specific. So also to never be afraid to give something else a new shot. You know what I mean? Especially if you've had a bad experience with something and you hear positive things mostly from a lot of people, give another batch a shot sometimes. Now I want to talk about, how do you get your hands on some of this exclusive flower, right? How do I get my hands on some Tenco? How do I get my hands on some Fidels? I'm just thinking out loud right here, but how do you get your hands on some exclusive stuff? Well, first of all, the brands that you're looking to buy, you should be following them on their social medias, right? You should be following them on Instagram. And I know Instagram's been taking a lot of people down, but you should be following them on X. And you might also be asking yourself, well, how do I know I find the right Instagram? Because that is a huge problem. That really is a huge problem. A lot of fake pages for a lot of these big brands, and you've got to be careful because some of these have like a legit look to them. But if you ever want to be safe, make sure you're following us on Instagram, and we are never following a fake brand page. You can go through our following list. Every time I post a review, I'll post like a reel on Instagram, and I'll tag the brand like every single time. But obviously sometimes those get taken down. But keep up, be on the lookout for who I'm following on my page, so you can always be up to date. Or if those brands have a website, they normally link their Instagram or their Twitter. Right now, the way to really go is on X. I said Twitter, but you know what I mean. The whole community is seemingly moving over there. I haven't really done a great job of doing so myself, but if you guys want to stay up to date, again, you can connect with those brands on those social media accounts, and a lot of the times you can reach out to them and they'll actually point you in the right direction. And if they don't point you in the right direction, just use context clues. Sometimes they'll repost certain people. Those certain people might be able to get you what you're looking for, so long as you can verify who you are. What you should be doing is you should be networking with these people. And the best way to do that is to show up to these events, man. There's so many events in the community. And again, how are you going to find out about these events going on? Well, follow the brands that you want to connect with, and they'll be sharing where they're going to be. All right. You got to stay tapped in. That's how you stay tapped in. Right. And if it's easier for you, again, shameless plug, follow us on the gram, link in the bio. We'll repost every event, even if we're not going to be there ourselves, just to show the community what's going on. Eventually I'll make an email list, and I'll even send it to you guys if that's something you want. Let me know. Because if you're in California, there's no reason why you don't do that once in a while. And if you go to these events and you buy through these people directly, a lot of the times you'll get the best pricing, and you can get the freshest product, everything you're looking for. So it's a win-win. You can even buy merch if you really fuck with the brand that heavy, most of the time. So it's really cool. There's a lot of ways you can support, and just, again, get connected. And a lot of the times too, these events are super dope. We recently just went to an event called WrestleMania, where they literally have live wrestling. I never seen a live wrestling show in my life. This shit was insane. Best weed event I've been to. I really stand by that statement. And look, if you don't live in California, some of these events are worth flying for. You got like PuffCon coming up. That's going to be an amazing time. It's always packed and stuff, but if it's a lot of the best brands are going to be there too. So I don't know, there's a lot to be excited for. Zolympics is one to look out for. That's one I would definitely fly out for if you're not already. They're doing a new event too coming up. So look, there's a lot going on. And you got to be tapped in with these brands and stuff on social media. And look, that's really all I have to say, I think. A lot of that's redundant. Hopefully this helps somebody, I guess, and if it doesn't help anybody, well, shit, at least I tried, right? Yeah, I hope everybody's been doing well. I know we've been taking a little bit of a break here, 3 weeks off, I believe. But thank you for watching the reviews. Stay tuned.
I need my weed to smell good, but taste better. I need the nose to translate the straight flavor. And it also gotta pack a punch to it. Expand my lungs when the smoke starts to run through 'em. I need the weed that make me feel good when my mood is ruined. I'm pursuing all the best weed this world has to offer to us. All the best weed this world has to offer to us. All the best weed this world has to offer to us.